Thank you for joining me on TMI Tuesday, the 7th day of April. And as you know, we're still on the issues surrounding the coronavirus scourge. And in Nigeria, the NCDC, as at last night, reported extra 6 new cases. And that is on the spread of the FCT, which took 1, and Kwara 2, Edo 2, and of course Rivers 1. And that brings the total number of that to 238 nationwide. And of course, Edo State has gone up to 11. And again, discussing these issues also will be pertinent for us to talk about the collaboration of China. And of course, the issues about the 5G technology that is really raging and raising dust for Nigerians. Well, discussing this with me, I have a lecturer at University of Benin of the Biochemistry Department, and he's also senior pastor, Gracevine International Christian Chapel. He is Reverend Professor Jerry Ore. Thanks for coming, Jerry.
Good morning, Philip. Good morning, viewers. It's a pleasure to be here once again.
Yeah, well, though pleasure, but we're still having these issues about the scourge. And like I just said earlier, the NCDC has announced new cases of 6, and we have 238. Is that troubling?
Well, if you ask me, the last time we were here on set, I had thought that those figures that were earlier released were probably a huge underestimation of what the situation is on ground. 1 week has passed, and this is where we still are. If you ask me, I would say it is not as worrisome as I originally would have thought. And it shows also that we are not doing too badly, even though there are obvious room for improvement.
But don't forget again that earlier we also said the confirmed cases are the ones that the Nigerian government have been able to get.
Yes.
But what about those who are still locked around, that are not showing up through contact tracing that is still being poor?
Well, that's right. There's no doubt that our contact tracing approach isn't yielding so much fruit. But the truth again, it's been over 2 weeks, and that will imply that the incubation period for the virus would have come and gone.
Yes.
So and for me, people had come down with critical illness, they would have reported, at the healthcare facility. That we are not having so many of such cases, in my mind, speaks of some degree of hope.
Okay, we have issues of lockdown in FCT, and of course Ogun State, Lagos State, and some residents flouting it. We have an image here on the news, the headlines, where at Lekki there was gridlock. How do you explain the attitude of Nigerians in this case?
Last week we said something about the difficulty that government will encounter in a bid to maximally enforce the stay-at-home order.
Yeah.
For obvious reasons, short of running the risk of going back again and again to explain the peculiarity of the Nigerian nation vis-a-vis orders and instructions like this. Now, first thing I want to say that in itself, looking at it on the surface, is rather unfortunate. Because for all that we know, Nigerians who want to try to, be seen to be. Some people actually saw this as some kind of vacation, some kind of holiday. To have been home now for 1 week, for 2 weeks, I'm bored, I'm tired, and so people, want to begin to jump out. But this again brings to the fore the general lack of discipline within the Nigerian populace, which indiscipline, if you ask me, stems also from the overall indiscipline, not just of the governed, but also of the governors. No people can be more disciplined than the government is. A society like China operated the same lockdown, and they were able to lock down over 500 million people within the Hubei province and the environment, where where this holy seed started from. And they had in place a lot of machinery to check movement, including electronic processes.
Yes,
You
yes.
know, but unfortunately, we can't boast of such here. If you go back to what happened in China, for instance, even you're going out, your mobile phones were color coded. You know, giving colors of red, of yellow, of green, which of course depict the status of the person. So it was easy for people to see you and identify based on the mobile phone you're carrying, the color code mobile phone you're carrying, to let you, for people to know that, oh, this person is so to say, on a danger list.
Yeah.
But we are not able to do some of those things here. And again, I've also heard over the news of people using the opportunity. I'm talking of law enforcement agencies now, using the opportunity to extort money, you know,
from the unsuspecting public.
Exactly, from Nigerians. So if you were asked to implement something and you're using it as a means, you know, to make money for yourself, then how would you expect the process to work? And this really is my worry all of the time, because Nigerians are so concerned about using every little opportunity to make some quick cash. We also said this, you know, the other time with respect to fake hand sanitizer and what have you. I mean, why would people be, you know, masterminding extortion of money from public and say, okay, if you must go through, drop this or drop that. It's quite unfortunate.
Okay, let's look at the aspect where even the Humanitarian Affairs Minister, Sadia Umar Farouk, did say that the federal government is doing something in this direction to help those who are most vulnerable, like in the lockdown areas in FCT, Lagos, Ogun. Now, there's this hunger that is being cited by those who flouted the order in Ogun State and, of course, in Lagos, in FCT. How do you evaluate the relief materials and the conditional transfers that the federal government did say will be given?
We predicted this. We saw this coming. I remember I hinted on that very, very strongly, you know, last week. We predicted this. And when you talk about releasing S billion of naira to vulnerable Nigerians, I queried the other day, what's your parameter for assessing who is vulnerable and who is not vulnerable? So to my mind, I do not think that government has done well enough. And if you say in the lockdown areas of Ogun, of Lagos, and so on and so forth, what happened to other states of the Federation? You know, there are, people, I mean, I've only heard in the news and read in the papers that money has been disbursed. I'm yet to hear of or know of anyone, whether in Lagos or in Ogun, that I know who can confirm and say, yes, I got X amount of money. You know, but like I also said the other time, I hope it is not going to be something that will be used to settle political cronies, where you have to selectively distribute to those who are party card carry members.
Okay, bringing politics into play.
Absolutely, and I mean, we're very well known for that.
Okay, but if you look at the aspect where the federal government really gave the order, and again the need for Nigerians to stick to the order for health grounds, on health grounds, don't you think that a lot expected from Nigerians to stick to in spite of the hardship?
Well, on the surface, yes.
Yes.
But a man who is at home, who's been hungry for 2-3 days and believes that if he take a step, you know, 1 kilometer away, probably might get something to eat, we want to go do that. You know, permit me here to quote it from the Bible. We read copiously, you know, all through scriptures. Particular example, you know, 2 Kings chapter number 7. We are told of 4 lepers who were at the point who were locked out of the city. And then they looked at the same and said, "What? Look, guys, we're here now. We can't enter the city. Even if we enter the city, there's hunger there. If we stay here, we will die. If we go and meet the armies of the Assyrian, maybe they will have mercy on us and give us food." Risky as that was, because they needed to eat to survive, they had to take that gamble. And lo and behold, it worked for them. So for man, the instinct for survival is topmost. For someone who you are locking indoor, who may die from hunger, and also even have the coronavirus, they will say, we'll evaluate the chances. How am I sure if I go out that I will not come back safe and on hurt? Why stay here and die? like those lepers said in the Bible. So that survival instinct is always there in man. And I think that's what I said the last time, that government needed and still need to effectively address, until we're able to address that, then our fight against coronavirus, will still remain very, very shaky. Because to be very, very honest with you, we are going to win this fight or lose it to the effectiveness of the lockdown process.
Like you did say earlier off camera, where
Yes.
you said that the easiest way to really go about this is a lockdown.
Absolutely.
And, as a way of really tackling this. But do you see the government of Nigeria in terms of the revenue, in terms of the wherewithal, the capacity to really ensure that residents of the country and citizens stay at home, well taken care of in terms of cash transfers? Do you see the government as having the ability to do this?
The straight answer will be no.
Okay.
But the more difficult issue is, has there been transparency over time? If you as the head of your family, your wife, your children know that every time you have, everyone enjoys. When you don't have, they will understand. But if they know that whether you have or you don't have, there's no difference, then people are going to always keep assuming that you have or you don't know, and that you don't care. And I think that's the problem that the Nigerian government has with the people. Over the years, there have been broken trust, no confidence. So as far as people are concerned, those who rule us are in there for their own personal gain. And let me quickly say this here. We are so good, especially our leaders, are so good at making politics out of every little thing. Individuals in this nation have donated figures up to 1 billion and above.
Like the Adetola,
Absolutely.
Adenuga.
To fight this cause, they didn't have to print labels and put on 200 naira hand sanitizers just to score cheap political gain. But here we have people that were elected to represent us, and they are, printing tiny labels and sticking on useless hand sanitizers just because we must score political gain. Score political point from everything that we do. And also there are people are beginning to also look at everything government is saying and doing in that light also. If you say you're going to give X amount of money, and the people are looking around them, of all the people around me, I don't know anyone that has gotten it. And maybe you have one person in Taraba, one person in Lagos, and they probably, when you begin to extract later, you're going to realize that one thing binds all of these persons. Say, come on, and then so who is ever going to trust you? I think government needed to have built trust all along. That has failed now. And that is the problem we're having right. It's difficult for people to trust government because over the years, government has not demonstrated that she can be trusted. Okay,
you spoke about the billions of naira, like some businessmen who are billionaires in Nigeria have been donating. And then again, we look at the approval by the president just yesterday on $150 million to be withdrawn from the Sovereignty Wealth Fund. And that again will be shared to the 3 tiers of government in order to cushion the effect of the fall in revenue. How do you relate that?
Well, the nation is begging for survival. That's just the reality on ground, because whether you like it or not, the economy has been practically shut down. And that implies that you're not producing, that implies you're not making money, and yet you must keep spending money. So how would government pay salaries? How would government, do the basic things that they need to do if such money stacked up somewhere is not released? To my mind, I think government was compelled to do this, and it is something they had to do. But I think Nigerians are better face the reality.
Okay, but again, some are saying, well, if you are to share this along the 3 tiers of government, how will the people be affected by this? Because we hear of governments where they take from what they've saved, to help in cushioning the effect of the citizens that have been made to stay at home. But again, if such amount is being withdrawn, is it not supposed to also go same way in terms of catering for the citizens directly?
I think we need to clear this fact.
Yes.
The $150 billion release,
million dollars.
$1 million release. We need to be clear about this. Was it supposed to be given to individuals or to states? To enable
the tiers of government.
That's the point.
Federal, state,
to
and
enable them function within the period, and that is the reality. What is the revenue now that we get as a nation? What is the price of oil now? Don't forget that this is essentially a mono economy. What is the price of oil now in the world market? See, probably between 25 and 27, dollars a barrel, which is nothing to write home about. Bearing in mind that that's essentially what we live on. So the point I'm trying to make is this: I do not think, in all honesty, that it will also be wise, in quote, that the money that has been so released now should be shared as 2 naira, 5 naira to everybody. Because when I heard that they were giving 20,000 per household, I laughed. and why did I laugh? I mean, an average Nigerian family will have up to about 6 members. Average Nigerian family, 1 man, 1 wife, assuming, and then 4 children, which is the maximum conventional. And that's 6 people. You give it them 20,000 naira to spend within the space of how much? And that's just about 3,300 and some fraction per individual. Where does that really go for crying out loud? You understand the point I make? So I do not think that we were, as it were, ready for that yet, because the way we have run our economy over time didn't quite prepare us for a day like this, and that is the sad reality. Nigeria as a nation is broke, and we are broke because, and probably we shouldn't go too deep into all of that, but I think the economy has been badly managed over time, and that's what we're suffering right now.
Okay, do you also have the impression that the $150 million that will be shared among the tiers of government could also go into private pockets? Do you trust the process enough in terms of judicious use of that amount?
Well, judging from antecedents, I would say no. But looking at who I am as a person, I would say give benefit of the doubt. Like I said the other time, it's too early to begin to check the books and do auditing and post-mortem of financial transactions. But one will also expect that at this time in particular, those who are meant to drive the process should be honest and sincere, putting the health of Nigerians, first. This is important because whatever money you steal right now will be akin to blood money, because the lives of people are dependent on the funds that have been so released. And I think it just would follow, that we should do things properly, at least for once. But if we want to go by who we are and who we have always been, people will be quick to jump at making some quick billions.
Okay. The Humanitarian Affairs Minister for Social Development and issues that has to do with helping the needy in terms of this challenge as far as is concerned, Sadia Umar Farouk, did say that the school feeding program is also another stream intervention through which the federal government is helping families to take care of their children while they stay at home. Do you assess or evaluate the school feeding program as a basic one in this direction?
That's very laughable. There are certain things that at that high level should not be said. You compulsively close down the schools, and then you will continue with the school feeding program. Who are you feeding? Who are you feeding? Some things are better not said at all because they're injurious to the ear. I think government should look for better ways of explaining it. And again, this again brings to the fore the number one, the competence and the integrity of those that have been appointed to serve in government. I wouldn't, for instance, be stupid enough to go on air and make such statement. It doesn't add up anywhere. That you have closed schools compulsorily and then you are continuing with your school feeding program. Feeding who?
How do they come out? And
feeding who?
How do you assess?
You are saying that the crowd should stay at home and then you are back. How? So to my mind, that is completely non-issue.
Thank you. Okay, so just joining us as TMI Tuesday, and we are on exiting the COVID-19 storm. Buharis interventions, and I've been having a chat with a lecturer at University of Benin, Biochemistry Department, and he is also senior pastor, Grace Vine Chapel, Reverend Professor Jerry Orwe. Now, let's look at the aspect of what we face here in Edo State. Now, just yesterday, an announcement came from the state government that nobody should come out from his home without the use of face mask. Otherwise, such a person will be prosecuted. How do you greet that announcement?
Well, I think, again, we'll have to look at this in two ways. First, the fact that you who want to go out like I have come out this morning should be concerned about my health.
Yes.
All right. Government apparently is concerned about public health, and that's why that order has come. And I want to believe that that order was given in the overriding best interest of Edo people. But having said this, we also need to ask ourselves, where are the masks?
Well, the government did say that they are going to be making provisions for that.
Where are they?
Go around? But
I am aware that even those who want to buy, it's not just enough to tie anything on your nose and on your face and walk away.
There are specifications.
Absolutely. So where are the masks? And where also is the wherewithal to purchase it? And if the straight question, answer to that will be, oh, if you know you can't purchase, then stay at home. Stay at home. Stay at home and do what? And die. These are the clear issues. I'm aware that the simple surgical face mask that used to sell for about 500 naira or so a pack, as I was told some of yesterday, it was already selling at about 25,000 naira a pack. So who's going to afford that? What provisions have been made? These again are the issues. We shouldn't just wake up one morning and begin to implement things because they sound right in the books, without, first of all, extraying the feasibility otherwise of what we're dealing with. I think government should be more persuasive rather than draconian in approach to some of these things.
Okay.
If people are properly educated, they will know that their own safety is at stake. But when you begin to dish out orders that you even know you had not the wherewithal, to implement, becomes a worrisome. Okay, let's take a hypothetical situation. People come out today in Benin City, and then you arrest 500 people who are not wearing face masks. You have another problem in your hands.
Okay, again, let's look at, because you also said that a better technique would be stay at home.
Absolutely.
And there's been these issues about a lot of persons asking the state government, why don't do this, like what Delta State did. Would you have subscribed to that in Edo State, looking at the number increasing? And even Delta State record, there's none, as we see in reports. But a lot of minds are saying, why shouldn't the state government institute a lockdown totally? Do you subscribe to that?
On the books, yes.
Looking at the implications, I think you're going to look at that.
Because we have to be real.
Okay.
It would be best to have a total lockdown, if you ask me, for 1 month. And be sure that all the cases are cleared. And then we can come back to normal.
But does government have the
But we
capacity?
have the wherewithal to sustain that. These are where the issues are. I have never, for one, disagreed with lockdown. I believe if everywhere this scourge has been contained all over the world, people have been able to manage it through because
lockdown.
Not necessarily because of don't get me wrong, not necessarily because of medical intervention per se, but because of lockdown. Because no matter how, if you don't want your medical facility to be over, you have to stop the spread of the virus. No matter how well equipped you are medically in terms of infrastructure, and you do not do a lockdown, you will keep having sporadically increasing cases that will overwhelm your health facilities. So if you want to control it, the proper thing to do is to do lockdown. But the point I'm saying is that people should be better educated rather than compelled to do some things. Because if people have clear understanding, your problem is half solved. But if you just wake up one morning and say, okay, from today, you don't do this anymore, and the people are going to say, well, how do we survive? So we should be able to at least explain properly to people why they should do what and why they should not do what you don't want them to do.
Okay. Again, do you see a challenge where a lot of persons who may not know how to use the nose mask or face mask could also be endangering their lives in the process? Like even going to the marketplaces, for instance,
that's right.
Which is a very big, mind-boggling issue.
That's right. You just raised another very vital issue. Some people will be safer
not to even have it on
without a face mask than to have one on.
So the first thing is, how do you use it?
How do you use it? How do you use it? Which again is what has not been done. People have not even been taught. You said there are two issues. Number one, are they available? Even if you want to buy, are they within reach? Number two, do people even know how to use it? It's not just how to wear it now, how to comport yourself, how to put it on.
Yeah, I'm not touching it.
Exactly. So
because as you're touching it, what you are avoiding could be on your hands.
Absolutely. You know, so these are...
Okay. Again, the state government did say that from tonight, 12 midnight, all markets will be shut down and they'll be relocated to nearest schools in order to fumigate these market stores. How do you agree that?
Well, fumigation is a standard process everywhere, and I think government is doing that, you know, to at least show to the public that we are willing to do the best we can. And these are not the best of times, really, for the government. I must confess. You see a government who is trying to do what she could, but unfortunately also doesn't quite have the capacity to match words with action. Fumigating market will not be a bad idea. We also hope and pray that the quality of material that will be so used will be such that will be of proper standard. That's the way I have issues. Somebody told me that they were fumigating the streets of Lagos, and then I asked the person, and I said, were they interested in cleaning, you know, fumigating your electric poles, cleaning up the your gate to your perimeter fence and all of that? These are areas that people will touch. You know, it's not just enough to fumigate the street, you know, tar roads and whatever. No, you have to touch the appropriate places where people will likely put their hands upon from where they can get this contact. So how you fumigate is not, I can't stress this enough. It's not enough to spray chemical everywhere. It is if you are spraying the chemical at the right places and in the right way.
Okay. Let's look at, you may mention the fact that the aspect of the face mask, the ability of residents or citizens to really purchase them.
But properly use them.
People are going about having their own face mask, getting their tailors to help them get some face mask. Do you think that is another challenge?
Well, this again.
Some wear it by the color of dress that they are putting on.
Yes,
they have different colors. It becomes
very
fashionable. Yes,
earlier on I had said, the face mask you see have different dimensions of pores, right? The dimension that will not allow the virus to pass through.
As tiny as it is.
That's the point. It's also a specific pore size. So it's not just a matter of carrying. Yes, carrying anything can probably shield something away from, but you're not, you know, protected. The other thing again is that you are not supposed to use these gloves. I mean, these face masks. Use it today, when you get home, hang it up. Tomorrow you're going out to pick it up and use. That's not the way it is used. You're supposed to disperse them, haven't used them. You understand the point I'm making? Now, if you say people are many of those you see wear their face mask on the street have been using that face mask for 1 week. That in itself is terrible and dangerous.
Again, Nigerians seem, like you said earlier, that the number is encouraging in terms of the number of cases
if confirmed. You ask me, yes.
And we've had recoveries of about 35 and about 5 deaths. Now,
that's not to say that the lives of 5 persons are not important.
Are not important, yes.
It is, but looking at where we are as a nation, and looking at what projections people were looking at before.
Okay, taking this stretch, what do you see as the tolerance of Nigerians against this disease?
I was speaking with someone yesterday, and I said, bad as the situation is, we have a couple of things going for us as a nation. First, by way of our population structure. If you look at what happened, for instance, in Italy, in Spain, and in the U.S. Let's take a look at Italy. 23% of the Italian population is age 65 and above. All right, they have a total population of about 60.4 million, out of which 23% 65 and above. That's already an aged population.
Yes, it is.
All right. Now, match that with Nigeria. You have only 2.8% of Nigerian population of, well, we're not sure of the exact figure now, 180, 200 million. You have only 2.8% that is 65 and above. All right. Now, that's not. Ordinarily, that will not be good news for Nigeria because the average life expectancy here is still about 56 or so.
Of course.
Which is not good. In other words, if you're Nigerian, you live up to 60, you have beaten the record, unfortunately.
Unfortunately.
But fortunately, that is playing out well for us. because the majority of people who are so easily, I'm not saying
who are vulnerable.
I'm not saying other age brackets are not affected.
Yes.
The majority of those who are easily affected falls within that bracket. Now, look at, again, you also have realized, if you look at the China experience, almost every child who came down with the virus recovered, which implies that the younger population are not badly affected. Right? The middle class population is also not so badly affected, but that age population. And I think that is playing out well for us in this particular situation.
Okay.
Added to the fact, and people may not want to agree with this, the average Nigerian has a rugged immune system.
Maybe by our lifestyle,
and that's
our
because,
diet.
and that's because, I mean, I hope healthcare professionals will not misunderstand this. You need a little tighter of germs to build your immune system.
A little what?
A little bit of germs to build your immune system.
Seriously?
Immune systems are not built from the sky. They are built because you've been previously exposed to some kind of infection. And that's why if you look at what is happening in the US now, they are saying that those who are going to go back to work first are those that have the antibodies against COVID-19 in their system. Yeah, to be able to withstand it. And how are you going to get that antibody if you have not been previously exposed to it? Why am I trying to say this? I'm not in societies. What happened in Italy is that they had very robust healthcare system that was practically free, including for the aged. So, there was this Medicare going on. So they were able to manage them all. The average life expectancy in Italy, for instance, is as high as 84. And they compare with Japan, which is about 85 or something. What point I'm trying to make? That is going for us now because our population is not an aged population.
Yes.
Even though that ordinarily is a minus. But in this case, it's playing out to become a positive factor. Because the more older people you have in your population, the more risk you are at with respect to this particular kind of infection.
Thank you very much. Well, we will be taking a break at this time, but when we come back on the discussion, we'll be looking at China's collaboration with Nigeria in terms of fighting the scourge in Nigeria. A lot of Nigerians are saying no to this. Even the NMA did say the 18-man medical team that the Nigerian government is inviting to Nigeria from China should be discontinued, should be stopped. And what would be the implication of that? Again, the federal government did say that if the medical team arrive, they are going to self-isolate for 14 days. They'll be quarantined for 14 days. But what is the picture? What will be the implications? Like Nigerians are also talking about the 5G technology that they say could also be emitting rays that could be dangerous in terms of exciting the coronavirus disease. We will be discussing this alongside with the Professor Jerry Orwe, who is a lecturer, University of Benin. That will be after this time out. Stay with me.
You are my fave, but are you contagious? The social distance rules say go 6 feet that way. You know I love you, but I just can't touch you. We can hug again, maybe someday, but go 6 feet that way. Tell me why, 'cause we can stop the spreading. Tell me why, healthcare is taxed already. That is why we all should be okay to go 6 feet that way.
Thank you for staying with me. And like I did say, we're going to be looking at China's collaboration. Don't forget again that this creation or this disease originated from Wuhan, China. And to a great extent, China is able to curtail what they got and now helping other nations tackle this disease that was brought from Wuhan. And again, there is this argument, like the NMA did say, that why bring in the medical team? That becomes like a slap to the health workers
in Nigeria. And again, we look at the implications of this. I still have the presence of Professor Jerry, Reverend Professor Jerry Ore. Thank you for your continuous presence. But again, we look at this aspect where the Chinese government is doing its help to Nigeria, and the enemy refusing that or trying to checkmate the activities of them coming to help us battle this COVID-19. What are your thoughts along this?
Well, first I would say clearly that this shouldn't be an ego battle between the enemy and the federal government. That point must be made very clearly. What is important here, the health of Nigerians. But I wouldn't say that. I also think that this is one case where the government is putting the cart before the horse. You have a health sector, right, manned by professionals, enabled by law. One will expect that if you're going to have people come from outside, you will first of all begin with consultation from your in-house personnel.
And they must pass through the process of the medical council.
Absolutely. No Nigerian will wake up from here today to go practice medicine in China. No Nigerian will wake up, no matter how highly qualified you are, will wake up from here today to go practice medicine in the United States. And then brandish your certificate and say, well, I have MBBS in Nigeria. That won't make sense to anybody. But the point being made is, am I against Chinese medical personnel coming? The straight answer will be no. But we need to understand clearly, and I think the enemy also should have been put very much in the picture. In fact, the reason why there's this COVID because what ought to have been done earlier, we're trying to do it now as a reactionary measure. Whereas before, now government should have brought in the enemy and said, okay, how are you guys coping with this? All right, what are our chances? Are we doing well? Are we not doing well? International bodies are commending Nigerian doctors on the effort the government has made so far in trying to contain this. Are we doing well? Let's reassess. Where do you need help? And if you need help, where do you think this help can come from? I think both of them should have been able to sit at the table, have an issue, and discuss this matter. And not you saying you are inviting a 10-man team to come from China to come help us deal with this issue. Noble as the intention of government may be, I think the procedures are very well faulted.
Okay. There's still this impression that the virus could be empowered if the team comes into Nigeria. Do you think so?
Well, I don't share that.
Because we have that, like in Italy, where assistance came and the issue got worsened.
I think I beg to differ. Okay. Let's not be too much guided by what flies in social media. I mean, I came across two. One of them was an audio message purportedly, sent by someone who claimed that the sister just called him from Spain now, that people were not dying here as soon as Chinese people came and they brought masks and whatever, people started dying in their numbers. And then another one that was, like a video message of someone who was also saying the same with respect to Italy. I beg to differ.
Yeah.
Differ in the sense that, as at the time, I would want to believe that as at the time, because whether you like it or not, every epidemic or pandemic has its own cause. It has its own graph. It to my mind was coincidental that as at the time the Chinese people came in, the pandemic in those countries were actually picking up. In other words, getting to their peak. So I do not want to believe that because they came, that's why the case was. I've heard that, they brought infected masks and what. I don't want to believe in.
Okay. Again, could it not be fitting on the argument you once also spoken to in terms of the fact that this also could be a human creation, starting from Wuhan? Now, if we look at the fact that it is possible that it's a human creation, is it not also possible that this could also be tampered with?
Well, my position at the last meeting was not to say that China created it in order to hunt the whole world. Okay. The point I did make, which I'm still making, is that, of course, nobody has disputed the fact that it's a human creation. No matter how much you're going to, viruses don't just appear from the moon. Okay. And this is further strengthened by the fact that the Institute of Virology research right in Wuhan, where deadly research into viruses and whatever, take place. So I have no doubt in my mind that this originated from there.
Okay.
But having said, it is not to say, I'm not in a position to say that China purposely, infected the whole world so that they can gain financial. The point I was making was this: they had overcome theirs. It is now their time to make gains, as it were,
Okay.
from the problem that started where they were.
Okay. Okay, but again, if we look at the accessories, because Nigerians are saying, we don't want the face mask or nose mask, we don't want these hand sanitizers, we don't want anything whatsoever,
From
equipment from China. How should the government bridge a kind of relationship that will make the orientation or impression about Nigerians go away? Because basically it's about the people, and the people say that they don't want this. I think the government should be wise enough to listen to the people. What do you think about that?
If you ask me, I think government is not proactive enough in this direction. And I'm going to explain why. Must we import everything?
That's a big question.
This is a nation that imports. If we want to have a dinner tonight, we first of all send to China to import toothpick. Must we?
But looking at the emergency,
No, I'm coming. Look at what's happening in the U.S. Factories are changing their line of production. People that used to make A
they are being versatile.
are coming out to make B, because B is what is needed at the moment to save the nation. And remember, this was what I said when we were talking about stimulus for the economy and all that, and the money being donated by different people. I did say at that time that I hope that this money will be plowed properly. It's been a couple of weeks now since this started, right? Why has it been difficult for Nigeria to put in place a machinery to try to meet at least some of these basic needs, vis-a-vis face mask and what have you? Yet there are some other sophisticated things that we may not be able to do. People are encouraged to make face masks. You just said a while ago that tailors make their own face masks.
In their own way.
In their own way. Now, bad as that is, all right, bad as that is, constructing a face mask is not rocket science, right? But what is probably they don't have is the real material that we need and the hygienic condition under which they should make them. So why can't government put that in place and get that done here? So I don't also think that we should begin to wait for China, until China brings face masks. It shows that government is not ready to do anything at her own level without getting help, and that's why we keep putting ourselves into trouble. Every little thing we want to look for help from outside. We want to borrow. When we don't have money, we want to borrow. We don't ever want to stretch ourselves. Other economies are doing the best they can to ensure that some of these things that they need, like the US, for instance, are produced locally. But that's not to say that I believe that China will come here with infected mask. I don't also believe that.
You don't also believe that? Okay. But what's the guarantee that Nigerians will use those masks? Because we are expecting about a million copies. And if all these copies stay in pharmaceutical stores and they are not being patronized or they are not being picked, what do you think the confidence of Nigerians will be in this direction?
I can assure you that not one of those masks will enter pharmaceutical shops.
Okay.
They probably are not even enough to go around your healthcare facilities.
Okay.
Because your doctors are supposed are not protected. If you bring 1 million face masks, how far would that go?
How far will that go?
That's certainly not for Nigerians, where you have a population of 200 million. So in my mind, I think if that comes, it's probably going to be restricted to those who are in the front line.
The health workers?
Absolutely, fighting COVID-19.
Who don't even have personal protective
equipment. Don't expect that you are going to get one from those masks. I don't think that they are meant for you.
Okay.
And I'm not expecting any either.
Okay.
But the point I'm making is this. 2 points I'm making. One, I do not think that China is going to come here with masks or any other material for that matter that have been purposely infected. I do not think so. I don't see what they stand to gain. And two, some of these things in my mind, if we're proactive enough, like I said it earlier, in other countries, people are trying to divert production to what is needed. Must you stick to what your company is known for? Why not, divert production to something that's right now and seek approval from the relevant quarters? People started making hand sanitizers. That's Nigerians. Bad as that may seem, I mean, have condemned that, in its totality.
And that has affected a lot of Nigerians, including me, having rashes on my palm.
To be honest with you,
That again is a challenge.
none of those things pass to NAFDAC certification, and the government is not talking.
Yeah.
They keep telling you, even the ones that politicians are sharing, there's none that has gone through NAFDAC certification.
Well, if you say the government is not talking, will that not be too bogus? Because you don't have the statistics to show in respect of what the government is really saying about it. Because there was a time where the government did say that they are producing, they've already given a kickstart on companies to produce hand sanitizers. The government did say that.
I stand to be corrected. I am yet to hear any public announcement condemning the indiscriminate use of sanitizers of unknown sources. I stand to be corrected. What I have heard is encouraging Nigerians to use hand sanitizers.
Okay, let's leave that a little and let's delve into the medical team.
Yes.
We understand that the medical team will comprise of doctors, nurses, and laboratory experts. Now, the federal government did say that when they come, because the NMA also gave that condition, are they going to be quarantined for 14 days?
The natural
the incubation period. And the government did say, well, yes, they will be quarantined for 14 days. Do you subscribe to them coming at all? Not to talk of even being quarantined.
I don't have a problem with them coming.
Okay.
For one reason. Like I said, these are issues that ought to have been ironed out before government, jumped the gun to make an announcement of a team coming from China. If they had settled this in-house, we wouldn't have this fight between government and NMA that is now in the public domain.
Okay, but they must pass through the process.
Absolutely. So I don't have any problem with a team coming. The reason is this: no matter how prepared you think you are, you can't be more prepared than the person who has. I mean, you can't know the depth of the river better than the person who is in front of you. Like we have agreed, this issue started from China, all right? And they have been through it, and they are still in it. They obviously will have a lot of experience to share.
Okay, which will be gainful.
Yes, I have no problem with experience sharing. I have no problem with I mean, if you are going to organize, maybe a special, 2 days, 3 days workshop and training for your healthcare personnel, say, well, these guys have been through this. Can they share their experience? I have no problem with that. Although the NMA, I read part of their release where they were saying, no, they can share those conferences using...
yes.
To my mind, that was just, fighting some kind of ego fight. It didn't comfort. It honestly, shouldn't get to that point.
Okay.
If they want to come and share experience with you, that's all well and good.
Okay. Quickly, there's this aspect of the 5G network, the 5G technology that the Nigeria Communications Commission did say was given a trial test in November last year for 3 months. And all of this is to transform the positivity that it brings. But there is no correlation with COVID-19, like some Nigerians are sharing even on the social media platforms. What do you make of this? Do you see this as what should be deployed to Nigeria?
Well, there is no new technology that hasn't got some kind of adverse effect.
Okay.
And I do not want us to run away from that obvious reality. I also expect that operating at that high level of about 60 hertz or so that they're talking about would have health implications. I'm not an expert in that field, but I've also read a little bit about it. And so it's not going to be free from health implications. But to say that there's a direct link between the 5G and COVID-19 may not also be correct.
Will it be laughable?
Well, to a large degree, laughable. Reason is this: if you say it is 5G that generates this virus, then what happens to the person-to-person transmission? So I don't want us to hold that so strongly.
Okay.
But I think that probably two things happening at about the same time. Maybe that are honestly not related, except that one may be aggravating the effect of the other.
Okay.
But I also think that in trying to go into full swing 5G operation in Nigeria, government should pause a little bit and watch what is happening elsewhere.
Okay.
Yes, some things you want to be among the first, to roll out. But when you realize there is a public outcry, you want to also slow down and say, wait a minute, let's reassess what we're doing. And I think if government is for the people, this is the time for government to to withdraw a little bit and try to reassess the situation that is on ground and say, should we really do this or not do that? And that will entail bringing every stakeholder, to the table.
Okay.
Civil society, experts in the field, medical
discuss
personnel.
this,
absolutely.
logically.
Absolutely. And then discussing all these ramifications. What are the gains? What are the disadvantages? What are the health implications? And if we are clear about this, and people are better educated, and we see that the benefit far, far, far outweigh, the hazards associated with it. I'm sure people will not be crying. But to be honest, nobody wants to die.
Okay, thank you very much for taking our time to be part of this. And there's a much we can take on the discussion. I've been having a chat with Reverend Professor Jerry Orwe, and he is a lecturer at University of Benin Biochemistry Department and senior pastor, Grace Vine Chapel. Don't forget that he's still this morning on ITV, and we'll be going to other segment, and just ensure that you stick around. Don't you go away.